This is a familiar spot for the Caps, 12th Game 7 for them since 2008. That's by far the most in the NHL in that span. Not all of these guys have obviously been there through this run, but talk about the situation they're in tonight. Another Game 7, this one on home ice.
Yeah, and they haven't, of all the things they did last year, they didn't have to, close out a series on home ice, and they didn't have to play a Game 7 on home ice. So, on the one hand, I think them winning a cup kind of changed the feeling around the team. There isn't that kind of angst, I don't think, anymore, because they've done it. And, I don't think the building's going to be quite as nervous as it would have been maybe in years past. But on the other hand, there is a lot of pressure on everybody in this situation, and especially so when it is your home building, I think. So should be interesting. I think the last Game 7 they won on home ice, it was a big game for Evgeny Kuznetsov, and I think they would kind of welcome a similar result here.
So why have the home teams been so successful? Has it been just simply the crowd noise and how the crowds have been into each one of these games, or has it been, the advantage of the last change and all that and matchups and, and that sort of thing?
Yeah, I don't think it's, the crowd. I don't know. Like, every playoff crowd's pretty good. I think the Caps are pretty used to playing in loud buildings. Vegas was loud, too. Honestly, I think it's the ice conditions. Caps were complaining about Capital One Arena throughout the year, but they're used to it. They kind of know their own ice. And I remember there were games they played at PNC Arena in Raleigh during the regular season where they were not shy about the ice being bouncy, the boards being inconsistent. Braden Holtby would say he had some issues kind of pushing off. So Holtby kind of alluded to it yesterday, too, that they're just kind of not used to those conditions. It's very unique, I think, compared to some other buildings. And I think it did mess with them a little bit. When you're a skilled team and you want to make plays, when the ice is bouncy, I think it might suit Carolina better. And, the Hurricanes just know their own kind of surface, I think.
Isabel, do you think that Ovi has compartmentalized the disappointment from the Game 6 loss in Carolina, specifically the non-goal, the controversial call there on him nearly scoring the goal, and the fact that he was chirping at the refs toward the end of the game and was sent off the ice? Has he moved past that? Is he focused in on Game 7 at this point?
Yeah, I think he's been pretty, focused all postseason, it seemed to me. And obviously, I don't think anybody can argue that he's been their best player, this whole 6 games here. Tuggerton made a good point after the game. People used to kind of criticize Ovechkin for not caring, for maybe not showing enough in the postseason, and now he's showing something. The frustration's evident in that moment, and I think it's kind of understandable with maybe some of the things that went on in that game with the calls, the disallowed goal, all of that. And, it's kind of unfair for us to go the other way and criticize him for that, too. There's been a day off. I think he's ready to kind of scrub it. It's going to be new rest for this game. Obviously, I think for everybody it'll be emotional tonight, but, he's been really, really, really good. He, Nicholas Backstrom, really that top line has kind of carried, the whole team this series, and I think they need now some supporting cast. They need some help. They need Evgeny Kuznetsov to kind of be what he was last year. They need Verana to get on the scoreboard. Brett Connolly's been better here the past 2 games, but, I think Ovechkin, Backstrom, those guys will show up again.
Well, Isabel, if the Caps are going to win tonight, I hope they're better on the power play than they were in Game 6, because they were just putrid. And, they didn't even look like they knew how to set it up. They couldn't even get the puck into their zone. You look at what San Jose did last night. They scored on 4 straight power plays. I know it's not that easy, but if they have the opportunity tonight, if Carolina gives them a few opportunities on the power play, they've got to be much better.
Yeah, you at least want to get the zone and at least get some confidence from it by having some good chances, I would think.
Get some shots up, yeah.
Yeah, they couldn't even – you're right, the entries were really disastrous. Yeah, and when you have a bad power play, kind of more so than a penalty kill, it really, sucks the momentum out.
Mm-hmm.
And gives kind of, when you're on the road especially, it gives life to the other team. I think the way special teams work in a series, kind of it swings so much from game to game because, coaches are making adjustments. It's kind of this whole cat and mouse chess game, so to speak. So, I think they need to be better with it, but, where they've kind of struggled all series is with the 5-on-5 scoring, and I think that's where they really need a little bit more, especially from their depth. You can't really count on how many power plays you're going to get in the game. I assume in a Game 7 there won't be much for either side.
Right.
So we'll see.
There are a bunch of Game 7 guys coming up in this game. Carl Hagelin, 8-1 in 9 career Game 7s. Justin Williams on the other side, former Cap, now playing for the Canes, 7-1 in his career in Game 7s. And I'm a little concerned that he tipped that puck in toward the end of the game, that maybe that's more momentum for the Canes and Williams going forward into Game 7. Who's going to be the bigger Game 7 guy tonight, in your opinion, Hagelin or Williams?
Yeah, I mean, Williams arguably plays a bigger role for their team. He's a captain. He's kind of counted on for more offense. Hagelin, his biggest role is on that top penalty kill, and that could be a huge thing. I mean, we've seen the role that penalty kill had in Game 6, where they killed off those 3 kills in the second period and really changed the game that way. I think Hagelin's looked good here the past couple games playing with Kuznetsov. You could see him kind of starting to get going, have some chances. Maybe he gets on the score sheet, but, I think his biggest thing is he moving? Is he creating space for his line mates with his speed? And is he making an impact on the penalty kill? Williams, the one Game 7 he played with the Capitals, he didn't break through. I think that was the one Game 7 he's ever lost. So who knows? I mean, sometimes that stuff can be deceiving. You have guys who seem to rise to the occasion in big games. Devontae Smith-Pelly is a guy like that. But a lot of times when it's a record thing, it's the team they're playing on too.
So do you believe that there's pressure for Todd Reirden to win this game? He was an assistant coach, obviously, last year winning the Cup, all right? But now he's the head guy. This is a big Game 7, first round. Do you think there's added pressure on Todd Reirden to win this, or is it just a standard Game 7 like any coach would face?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot of pressure. If you're asking me if I think his job's safe, regardless of the result, the answer is yes.
Oh,
but
yeah, I believe that too, yeah.
But yeah, of course there's pressure, especially, Barry Trotz is sitting there waiting in the second round. And I think it's human nature. Those guys are going to be compared. I think there's a lot of pressure. I'm curious to see how he's going to handle it. What helped the Capitals last year was how Trotz was very, loose in these moments. And I think that was a change from years past that, he didn't get tight and the team didn't get tight. I think Reirden kind of has to take the same approach. So I'll be intrigued to see how it goes. But, of course, there's pressure. And, I think he knows that too.